Welcome to CTV News Your Canada. It's Wednesday, May 28th. We'll bring you profiles of fascinating Canadians and stories about your community. Thanks for watching.
In the heart of the nation's capital, a solemn ritual of remembrance. King Charles and Queen Camilla pausing to honor Canada's fallen before laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Representing Silver Cross families, 16-year-old Olivia Vernelli delivered the official salute, chosen as the Queen's flower bearer, but she wasn't just carrying flowers, she was carrying her father's memory.
Every time I put on this uniform, I just know that he's there.
She wears the same cap badge as her father, Corporal Scott Vernelli, who was killed in Afghanistan in 2009 when she was just 6 months old.
As soon as I was 12 years old, I wanted to join the 3rd Battalion Royal Canadian Regiment, Royal Canadian Army Cadet Corps, because I knew that I would wear the same cap badge as my late father. I sent this bear to my father in Afghanistan. And
on the sidelines, a small bear sat quietly with her mother, sent overseas when Olivia was days old, tied to her father's backpack with a red ribbon.
When he passed away, they actually found this and it was still intact, so they brought it back. And it's just so amazing because it kind of reminds me of me because I'm wearing my red sash and it has the little red ribbon on it.
This year marks 25 years since Canada's unknown soldier was returned home. The national ceremony deeply personal for this military family. Olivia's mother, a veteran herself, recently received a King's Coronation Medal.
When I saw Her Majesty's, the King and Queen, coming closer to Olivia, I sort of took a deep breath and I said, this is for us. This is for the strong military veteran family because we go through so much adversity. And I felt her dad here with us today, and she couldn't have done a better job.
And while she may be too young to remember her father, today she shared a special connection, honoring his memory.
I'll never forget that moment. I was just so proud of myself, and I just knew that my dad would be very proud of me.
As for the future, Olivia says she has plans to go to the Royal Military College in Kingston, where she's thinking of pursuing a career in the military or police. Patricia?
Wow, she did a beautiful job, and she shares her story so beautifully as well. Caitlyn, thank you for this.
Mennonite Heritage Village curator Andrea Clausen is surrounded by history, but 2 recent donations stand out.
Just these artifacts themselves have so many different layers of story behind them. To me, it's incredible.
An embroidered apron hand-stitched in 1926 and wall art from the 1930s were donated this April.
This is her apron that she made at a summer camp when she was 11 years old. You see the embroidery here, sei fleißig, so be useful, be productive, and then her initials M and B for her maiden name, Brown.
Maria Baron Friesen was born in southern Ukraine in 1915. Clausen said back in the 1930s, Russian Mennonites like Friesen were rounded up by Stalin and taken prisoner. She said it was remarkable these items survived.
You pack up the apron you made as a child, and you pack up the wall hanging that hung in your house as a married woman.
Friesen and her husband fled Ukraine in 1943, and they moved to Manitoba in 1948. They farmed in Turand and retired in Steinbach. This hand-stitched message is one of hope.
It says, Schlaf fröhlich, ohne Sorgen. So that's the top line there. Sleep peacefully, sleep happily, without cares, without worries. And then at the bottom, begrüße froh den Morgen. Greet the morning with joy.
Friesen passed away in 2001, and according to her daughter, she kept up her sewing until the end of her life. Donating her mother's early work makes her proud of her family's legacy.
Even though they lived in very dire circumstances and very humble homes during that period of time, it was her way of making a place look more inviting and welcoming.
Joseph Bernacki, CTV News, Steinbach.
Guillaume Cote grew up in a small Quebec town where his parents ran a dance school. He later trained at the National Ballet School before joining the company in 1998, quickly climbing the ranks to become a principal in 2004, dancing virtually all the biggest roles.
Nijinsky was one of the highlights. I danced on that stage, the Ballet Nijinsky, and it was in Paris at the same theater where Nijinsky performed 100 years ago. Alexei Ratmansky's Romeo and Juliet was really special. because that production ended up taking me to Moscow, to the Bolshoi.
But he says it's the rehearsal studio more than the stage that he'll really miss.
Really beautiful moments of a shared passion, of a shared intensity from your coach to the entire room, to 75 dancers, working to make something greater than ourselves.
And that end is coming soon.
I retire on June 5th, and June 6th is Burn Baby Burn happening at the Bluma Appel with a company that we sort of launched a few years ago.
Throughout his career, Côté has always been involved in choreography. Côté Danse was formed during the pandemic.
We do take some of this classicism that I love, this technique, the virtuosity, but then we also turn it on its head.
I feel incredibly lucky to work with such an incredible and sincere artist as he is.
Dimitri's one of those people that feels like he's right there in that moment, and he just lets go of what's coming or what came before, and that comes with an element of risk where he pushes himself.
Burn Baby Burn was inspired by Côté's young son's fears about global warming.
I remember him saying how much that shocked him and how that really changed his perspective on how the world is changing.
Côté's final program with the National Ballet, entitled Adieu, runs from May 30th to June 5th at the Four Seasons Centre.
And I just hope that on that night I feel like I've given it all and I was honest about my career.
Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Radio frequency identification is an old technology that's found a new purpose, helping locate people with cognitive challenges.
Cell phone, GPS, and satellites, all these things that are somewhat impenetrable in kind of thicker canopies like this. And going back to basics with kind of RFI technology is excellent for our area.
St. Thomas Police, Aylmer Police, and Elgin OPP all have RFI receivers now that will be used as part of the Project Lifesaver initiative.
The car antenna is omnidirectional, meaning that it detects in a 360-degree radius. And then once we got close enough to the individual, we would get out of the vehicle and switch over to our handheld antenna there.
The RFI antennas are tuned to a specific frequency emitted from a unit that looks like a watch and is difficult for the individual to remove.
They keep it on their wrist or their ankle. It's always with them. So when they wander, we can use that device in the tracking system to find them.
Experts dealing with people who have Alzheimer's say many times those individuals don't even recognize that they're lost and at risk. Alzheimer's patients and those with dementia often believe they're simply taking care of a routine task.
They've got a purpose. They could be going to work. They could be picking their kids up from the school bus, even though they're in their 80s.
It's not just seniors at risk. William Barber owns Inclusive Communities Consulting and Life Skills, an agency that deals with young adults and teens who have learning disabilities, some who are nonverbal.
Many talks with families that have told me stories of their family member that have walked out on their farm, rural setting, surrounded by cornfields, and if they didn't see their son, he could have been gone.
2 years ago, Barber, in cooperation with Victim Services Elgin, launched a fundraising campaign to help purchase RFI units.
There's many different organizations that have had a hand in fundraising for this, which I'm very thankful to all of them.
I think it's a great fit for Elgin County. We're very rural. We've got quite a few of our clients that are based in rural areas.
Victim Services Elgin is handling distribution of the wrist units, which have a $470 upfront cost. The annual maintenance fee is about $50 a year. Jerry DeWan, CTV News.
Balloons spelling out Ben decorate this downtown Popeyes. It's to celebrate Ben Stelter's birthday. The Oilers superfan would have turned 9 on Tuesday.
We're celebrating by doing some of Benny's favorite things today, eating some of the food that he loves so much, and then we'll go to cheer on his Edmonton Oilers tonight.
The fast food joint is where they would go for birthdays before it became a part of his treatment journey. Ben was diagnosed with glioblastoma, a type of brain cancer.
When he'd be in the hospital, when he'd come home, he'd always request Popeyes as his first meal that we'd sit down and eat as a family together.
Ben was 6 when he died in 2022. He won over the hearts of Oilers fans earlier that year when the club made him a part of the team.
How did you think Zach Hyman played today?
Good. I think he played really good.
Thanks, Ben.
All Popeye sales across northern Alberta Tuesday are being donated to the Ben Stelter Foundation.
I think today's going to be really busy. We've been doing donations for the week before this, and then we're going to do it for the week after. We're already a little over $7,000. So I would hope $30,000 to $40,000 would be a really great number to get.
Birthday celebrations also took place in St. Albert. Joseph M. Demko School held a birthday party. They sang happy birthday and celebrated with a cake raffle. The money went to the foundation.
What we really hope is that no matter what comes their way in their lives, that they're able to find some happiness and some good from it and strive to overcome whatever obstacle is in their way.
From chicken to cake, Ben's family appreciates the support. They say an Oilers win would be the cherry on top. Naram Nisa, CTV News, Edmonton.
He's 21 years old and been a participant at the doorway for more than 2 years. William McPhail didn't have an easy childhood and at 14 was addicted to drugs and alcohol and living on the streets.
I was in a really, really bad spot, and now I'm in a really, really good spot with still problems. Everybody has problems, but at the end of the day, like, without the doorway, I wouldn't have been able to see the growth in those problems.
Each participant here gets a binder to keep track of the goals they set for themselves, and they do that in this office environment.
It took me like 6-7 months just to go get my ID, and I wrote that at least 9 times. Wrote it at least 9 times, and eventually I went and got it, and then boom, that's one more little step towards the top of the staircase.
The doorway is hosting its 2nd annual extravaganza Thursday evening. Marianella Damon says it's a fun-filled evening to support youth from 17 to 30 years old.
We're going to have 6 artists playing. We have a poet, we have our host is a comedian, and we have a live art being made by Dean Stanton, and that will be auctioned off at the event.
There are currently 84 participants enrolled here, and they can get food to fuel their brains. Hygiene items and donated clothing are free for the taking in a retail setting. Floyd Visser says the program is life-changing.
I think for us as the team, the success is not just hearing that story, but just seeing their eyes and seeing that energy that they have.
McPhail likes the path he's on now and has a goal for 2026.
I want to be a mortgage broker and an insurance broker. So right now I'm just working on my mental health a little bit, and then I'm going to get back into school.
Kevin Fleming, CTV News, Calgary.
Get ready! Get ready! Get ready! It's game time!
It was a trip of a lifetime and a brush with fame for a 12-year-old girl from Bathurst.
The energy was absolutely insane.
Brittany Godin and her daughter Gemma traveled to Indianapolis last week to watch basketball superstar Caitlyn Clark. Clark, a guard with the Indiana Fever of the WNBA, is widely considered one of the most popular athletes in North America right now. She's also Gemma's idol.
I really love her game. I really love how she's not afraid to take a shot.
They decided to show up hours before tip-off to try and get Clark's autograph. Their custom-made sign paid off.
It was a great experience. I really liked when Caitlyn signed my jersey.
A basketball player herself, Gemma respects Clark's poise and confidence. Her mother believes the two have similar qualities on and off the court.
They're feisty and really not afraid to kind of dig in there.
Brittany thinks seeing Clark in the international spotlight is inspiring a whole generation of young female athletes.
What Caitlyn's done for women's sports is beyond anything I could have ever hoped for. People all over the world are watching Caitlyn Clark.
And for one night, so too were a mother-daughter duo from New Brunswick. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
Now there could be a lot to enjoy today.
In less than 3 weeks, the world's best racers will speed around the track that carries a name that's legendary here, Gilles Villeneuve. But lately, the Villeneuve name has been connected to what's happened off the track. A statue of Gilles was stolen, and Villeneuve's family seized their belongings from the Gilles Villeneuve Museum. It hasn't been easy, says Villeneuve's daughter, Melanie.
We've been looking into, what's been going on and how people are either using his image, talking about him, and
And at some point we realized that we're not at all involved.
On Tuesday, the Gilles Villeneuve brand was launched. It includes a web platform, social media content, and clothing with a logo designed for their father. His children say they want to take control of their father's image.
It's a little bit vintage, but we're super proud of the way it looks. We figured that it was time that we should implement quality control in terms of his narrative, his story, make sure that whatever is said about him is true and it's authentic.
F1 is a global brand reaching audiences of all ages. The Villeneuve family hopes their father's name will connect with a young crowd and get people talking and remembering his legendary career. Matt Grillo, CTV News.
We'll be adding reviews onto the platforms.
In the heart of Uptown Waterloo, this group is on a mission.
We are working hard to listen and learn from the experiences that people share with us and make improvements in our spaces.
Not to shop or to sightsee, but to map out accessibility one step at a time.
So what I experience as a person with a disability is not the same as someone else. There are things that people can modify very easily to make it be more inclusive.
Armed with cell phones and the Access Now app.
The Access Now app provides real-time information to people about what to expect when they go out into a public space or a business, about whether they can interact with that space meaningfully depending on their disability.
Participants hit the streets to visit local businesses and public spaces, adding real-time data to the Access Now platform, assessing everything from physical elements to sensory and communication features.
So is it too loud? Is the lighting good? Is there a washroom that is physically accessible? Is it wide enough for a wheelchair to fit into? Are the aisleways in the stores? And the scoring is, green, it's good. Yellow, it's maybe challenging, or red, maybe it's not yet accessible.
All of the data added to the app and its digital map.
This gives us a benchmark and a base that we could work with, and we could work with our businesses to educate them and also find opportunities and how we could fund them to make some of the spaces more accessible in the future.
One stop, the old Fire Hall Confectionery, where co-owner Natasha Usher says accessibility has been their mission.
Allowing some room around the tables in the store as well. You can certainly wheel a wheelchair or a stroller up to the table, having an accessible washroom.
They also found challenges, like doors that weren't automated and narrow passageways. But the tour isn't just about checking boxes. It's about building something bigger.
We're just contributing to the bigger map. So folks that are local can use this, but equally if you're visiting Waterloo, you can also gain access to the information.
Hannah Schmidt, CTV News, Waterloo.
Students pound the pavement to find a cure for cancer.
I'm just so proud. I'm genuinely just so happy. Like, I'm just really proud of all of us for coming together. Yeah.
About 800 students and staff from West Ferris Secondary School left their classrooms for the hour-long march to the Lake Nipissing waterfront. This annual tradition hits home for grade 11 student Kara Spraggett, as her grandfather's parents had cancer. And she had her own cancer scare. When she was 13, doctors discovered a mass in her jaw.
I'm still getting CT scans for it now. It's still a very prominent issue in my life. We don't think it's cancerous anymore, but it's so common.
Spraggett and her classmates began going door to door 3 weeks ago, collecting a total of $51,000.
There's a lot of pride involved in it, and I tell you, we get down the assembly this morning, and it's jammed, it's packed.
Donations stay local, going to the North Bay Regional Health Center to buy a state-of-the-art contrast injector for mammography exams. The hospital says this specialized unit can improve the quality of breast imaging, allowing radiologists to detect and diagnose breast cancer earlier.
And it actually increases cancer detectability, particularly with women with dense breast tissue.
The tradition started 30 years ago when a former student whose loved ones had cancer began walking around the school's outdoor track to raise money. Since its inception, over $500,000 has been raised for local treatment and research.
Maybe hit that $1 million sooner rather than later.
giving people like Spraggett hope that the sun will rise on a day where cancer is a thing of the past.
So happy that you guys donated. Thank you so much.
Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay.
Nobody wants this next door to them. Okay, this is going to be very difficult to find a location where to permanently locate the H4.
When Windsor's Homelessness and Housing Help Hub moved into the former Waterworld building on Wyandotte Street East, it was never meant to be a long-term fix. But 5 years later, it's still there, to the chagrin of some area residents and business owners.
A lot of the behaviors that play out are unwanted behaviors by many of the residents, and so we're going to try and find a location that makes sense within our city.
After years of searching, the city had settled on a property on Wellington Avenue as the H4's future home, but that plan was abandoned late last year, partly because of cost.
We just have to broaden the horizons, cast the net a little wider, let's see what's out there.
Now, as of Monday, council has expanded the search citywide.
We are working with them.
The Downtown Mission says it plans to co-relocate with the H4, keeping its shelter services and support programs in close proximity. Executive Director Rakshini Panaya-Gulan says their current spot on Oled Avenue was never supposed to be permanent either. In a new location, she hopes to see
an enclosed space in the back for our clients to have some privacy, but also then our neighbors don't necessarily have to be, faced with the clients every day.
Neighbors in the area of the Oled location have reported issues like drug use and vandalism, and the mission says a more purpose-built space could help address those concerns. The mayor estimates the final site will need to be several acres and could still take years to pin down. Any site deemed suitable will still need council approval, but that decision could still be years away, according to the mayor. As for the Heart Hub, Hotel de Grace Healthcare is leading that project locally, with CEO Bill Mara telling CTV News today the goal remains to open it this summer. Stephanie.
Okay, Travis Fortnum tonight. Thank you, Travis.
Well, what started with roadside rescues has grown into a fully equipped wildlife hospital, and it's now open in Caledon.
We purchased this 100-acre or approximately 100-acre parcel of land about 6 years ago, and we have been fundraising really hard ever since to build phase 1, which is our field hospital.
After more than a decade of operating on the move, the National Wildlife Center has opened a permanent animal hospital, and it's officially welcoming the public. Since 2014, the center has been a lifeline for thousands of injured, sick, and orphaned animals from right across the province. In the past, a mobile hospital and a dedicated team of veterinarians made that care possible.
It's always rewarding when you get to help an animal and you see it actually got released, but it's also helping the people. When people call us, they're desperate. They're looking for anyone, please help this animal. So when we can help the people as well, then we know that they feel good, we feel good, the animal's going to feel better. So it's a win-win-win.
The new 26,000 square foot headquarters is open 7 days a week. All appointments can be made through the center's Wildlife Emergency Hotline.
Johnny Beardmore has arrived here from the other side of the world to meet someone he doesn't know.
I'm super excited and I'm also nervous at the same time.
Someone who not only doesn't know Johnny's coming,
will they be home?
Doesn't know Johnny at all.
Will they be receptive, or will they be a run out of town with a shotgun?
Johnny, on the other hand, is armed with only a postcard, a map app on his phone, and under his shorts,
my lucky tortoise undies.
You see, this journey began after Johnny met these giant tortoise on the Galapagus Islands, where he also happened upon this old postbox, where visitors have dropped off letters for centuries, so others heading in the direction they're addressed can pick them up and deliver them.
I thought, wow, there's something in this.
So Johnny launched the Galapagus Postman Challenge with the goal of hand-delivering 50 postcards from the box to people living on 7 continents.
It was about reconnecting with the world and reconnecting one letter at a time.
To connect with others in a way his dad no longer could, after enduring ALS for 8 years.
And I was looking for inspiration that would be something in his memory.
So Johnny's striving to raise $100,000 for ALS research by documenting his travels from Antarctica to South and Central America.
I've got a little bit to deliver.
And now North America.
I brought it all the way from the Galapagos Islands.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
And while the 15 letters Johnny's delivered so far have been met with initial apprehension.
Who's this weirdo from New Zealand?
Like Bob, who received a postcard from his daughter Monica, the people are always left feeling appreciative.
Sure, that's great.
And whether the interactions are brief or last late into the night, Johnny says they're all reminders of how meaningful it can be to connect in person. Well, you still can.
So go and reconnect with somebody that you haven't spoken to for a while.
And as the Galapagus Postman heads off to his next stops across Canada, he knows his dad would be proud.
I think he'd probably be laughing and having a beer and saying, "Go for it, son."
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Victoria.